Star Citizen, a game dubbed a huge scam by a lot of gamers, scaring off some potential players. How is it actually doing in 2024? I've been a generational hater of Star Citizen since back in 2012 when I was still a kid. And since then, it's only 63% complete till this day. So over the years, when it came down to Star Citizen, I'd always look at the game and I was always really stoked to play it. But back then I was too young to buy the game and I couldn't find anywhere to get the game. I tried to get cracked versions and everything and I just couldn't get it. And after trying so hard to get it and I started reading more about the game, I found that a lot of people were calling the game a scam. In the forums and any chat rooms I was in, everyone said the game was a scam, it was barely playable, and it was just bare and bland. And the rhetoric outside of the player base of the game was just all saying the same thing. As a kid, I was easily influenced and I just said, you know what, I'm not even going to try the game anymore. And I kind of lost faith and I lost hope in a game that I thought would be crazy good. But now as an adult and after finding myself in love with a game called Ark, I didn't know anything about the game and I started playing that game and I ended up loving it so much that it boosted me to start creating content on YouTube. I knew nothing about that game and I gave it a shot. Yet the game isn't perfect. It has a lot of issues, like a lot of issues, but I still love it. So for that reason, I thought it was about time that I actually gave Star Citizen a shot and a chance to prove itself and ignore the opinion that I've made over years and years of just kind of listening to the crowd. So just over a week ago, I literally tried Star Citizen for the first time. And this is my honest and brutal opinion on the game. First, let's talk about the price of the game. The game has a bunch of different tiers, which I feel is nice because when you're starting a game, if you have a bunch of different tiers, people can invest different amounts, and that means there's a chance to have a very baseline tier, which means people can come in at a very low level. And for a AAA game, in my opinion, $45 is not that bad, and that was the base price. But again, even though it is a nice thing to have different tiers, it does feel a little bit pay to win, especially in an open world survival where there's somewhat PvP. If someone has more money, that means they can get a better ship, and that better ship is going to dominate you, right? But after playing for a while, I've realized that the ship doesn't mean much if the person piloting is a noob. Like, I've literally rented a ship that was pretty medium sized and pretty decent, and the NPCs are killing me, bro. I'm out here getting my ass rolled out here in the moons, like trying to kill someone on a bounty mission. So having a really good ship or paying a lot for a ship doesn't just automatically make you the best player in the game, and you might be getting rolled by tiny ships that cost way less than what you spent your money on. So even though it does seem pay to win, it's not really. And then when we talk about what you're actually buying, this was actually very fascinating for me because when you play games, normally you just buy the game. So you bought the game and you get the game package and that's kind of it. You don't really feel like you're buying something physically. But when I was paying for this game and I read what I was getting in my bundle, it felt justified to me because it felt like I was actually buying something. When you buy this game, you don't just get the game. You get the game to play, you also get a ship, and you're basically buying yourself a space in the game to call yours, like your hangar. So you basically get this hangar that's basically your space and you can decorate it and do things with it right now in the game. And it's like, I felt like I bought something that was almost physical, which wasn't bad, which made me get a little bit attached to my purchase, and I could literally write off the fact that I bought this thing. Installing the game, I did have a few hiccups. Trying to get the actual launcher in was pretty easy, that went smoothly, but trying to actually install the game through the launcher, I literally had to restart it 3 times before it actually downloaded the game. And this is not a big deal for someone like me who sits on my setup and just looks at the freaking wall. But if you were someone who stands up and walks off, goes to do something, say, oh, it's gonna be done in the next 30 minutes, 1 hour or whatever, and you come back and the game is not installed, that would be a little bit annoying. So I'd like to just be able to press it once and it just does what it's supposed to do. So that kind of set me off on a little bit of like a whoa there on my entry into the game. But when I actually launched the game, it was pretty damn smooth. I didn't get any hiccups or any frame errors on launch. And when I went into the character creation, that was pretty smooth as well. And I have to say, the characters were pretty photorealistic, which made it nice. And basically, I could make a character that kind of looked like me, which gave me a little bit more of an attachment to the model, because it's like, if I'm making something that looks like me or something that I want to make, it just makes you feel a little bit more attached to it. And I felt like I was entering a verse as me, which is pretty nice for me because I'm someone who likes to start a game up, and if it's a game that I can create a character, I like to create a character that kind of resembles me or is just me, so I can get more immersed into this world. But when I did launch the actual game after the character creation, it did get a little bit laggy, but again, my computer was literally rendering shaders and doing other things like that, and I was recording on an external app, so that was also taking some processing power. But apart from that, it leveled itself out, and around 5 minutes-ish, I stopped getting those jitters, those little drops in frames, and I sat around 45-ish frames, which isn't great, but for a game that's still in alpha, I was like, it is what it is, right? And then I was prompted to spawn in a zone called Area 18, and it asked if I want to do a tutorial, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'm new to this game, I've never played this before, let me do the tutorial. The tutorial was basically started, and after roughly 5 to 6 minutes, the tutorial stopped working. It just stopped working. I was left in this huge place with no kind of information on where to go. And if you're someone like me who likes to just figure things out, I canceled the tutorial mission and I just started looking for where I had to go. And I knew I needed my ship. I had a ship. I had a hangar. I had to go find this hangar. And this is where I have to really applaud the game. When I turned off that tutorial and I looked around me, things were there that made sense. There was markers, there was signs, there was maps everywhere. You could literally walk up to a map, look at it, and it told you where you needed to go, which I find is very helpful in games. And a lot of games, when they have text up, the text is normally meaningless and doesn't actually add anything of great value. But in this game, I found a lot of the things and a lot of the directions were actually very valuable to help you navigate if you didn't have a guide or if you just didn't know what you were doing. You could navigate pretty well with all these pictograms and just signs, and it was pretty awesome. And it helped me get more immersed into the game because I've lived in so many different countries and I travel quite a bit. So it's like signs always help me in real life. And if I'm looking at signs in a game and they're helping me, it slowly gets me immersed into this thing. Like it's actually me reading those signs and using those signs to direct myself around this new world. After that tutorial broke, I realized that this game was going to be breaking a lot. But I have to say, the graphics were really nice. They almost gave me like a soft feeling. It felt really like Detroit Become Human kind of vibes, and it was just really colorful, and I liked what I was seeing, and the models and textures were actually very high quality. Like a lot of time was spent into making these things look good, which was really nice, especially just in a main city, and everything just looks really nice. It was beautiful. But when I think about the graphics in this game, the one thing I really truly enjoyed was the way the trailers of the game gave me high quality cinematics. And then I turned on the game and the cinematics were 9 out of 10 the same. They were literally identical. What game does that? Most games give you awesome cinematic trailers and awesome render trailers, but when you actually turn the game on, it's nothing like the cinematic trailers. But with Star Citizen, I felt the trailers and the game itself did each other both the same amount of justice. This right now is huge for me because at this stage of gaming, and as a creator, you want to play games that look good, feel good, and the only thing I can knock this game on is just the bugginess. And the game felt alive. In the city, there was NPCs moving around doing things. Sometimes they would bug out, but apart from that, it made it feel like it wasn't empty. A lot of games have these empty cities and empty towns and things you can't interact with. While this was really interactive, like the environment was super interactive, which was really nice. And because so much was going on and so much was like impressing me, I realized that I was actually using my human brain to play this game. I wasn't just switching off and going into gamer mode. I was actually experiencing this thing like a real person would experience it, and it was on my screen. Normally I don't get those kind of experiences when I play games because it's just a game and it's just another one of those. But for this, I felt like I was really happy inside as me experiencing something new that felt like, it could be a possibility in the future, I interacted with the food system, which was really nice. You're eating the food. And one thing I have to say is, look, I could use the trash cans. The fact that I could drink something or eat something and put the wrapper or the bottle in the trash was brilliant. I love that. All these kind of things just build the immersion. It just keeps building up, which is really nice. And it just kept impressing me. And then when you use like the public transport, yes, the game has public transport that has everything thought of, even the sound system where it's telling you where to go or you just arrived. It's all really immersive. And the city was just so huge. We're going through this whole city, this whole network, and it was just brilliant because it was just very vast. And this was just in the same place. I hadn't even gone around the whole world of this game yet. And when I finally made it to my ship and got into my hangar and tried to figure out how to fly, I have to say, this game has a lot of keys. There's a lot of keybinds, a lot of buttons that do different things. I literally sat there for roughly 30 minutes, literally clicking each key one by one to see what they did in every scenario. I'd get into my ship, press every single button until I figured out what they did. I get out of my ship, press every single button to figure out what it did. So there was a lot of buttons, which it kind of took me a while to get my head around the ones I needed mostly. But once I did get them into my system, I kind of started easing myself into knowing which ones to press when I needed to do something. And I had to do a lot of looking at my keyboard, which was a little bit annoying, but this game has so many things. Like in your ship, you have like 4 screens sometimes. It's like, you need to have all these buttons. It's there for a reason. Then when we talk about the fact that a lot of you guys have been saying in my comments that you're a long-time player and the game is extremely hard to learn. If you come into this game with the generic gamer mindset, yeah, it's extremely difficult to grasp. I found that once the game's intricacy worked its way into my brain, I had to switch on, immediately knowing that I had to actually read text that was being shown to me. Most times I skip stuff like reading text or reading mission objectives. If you're a generic game player, you don't do that, you press A and skip. But I found in Star Citizen, the same types of mission have different instances, so you have to make sure you choose the right one. And the signs are in English and they're real human words, so you have to pay attention. If you see a sign, it's probably going to help you out when you're trying to navigate. The only actual problem I had with the learning curve is how much things change or break during this building process the game is in. You can look up a guide that at the time worked perfectly, but that was 2 years ago. And now the same thing or the same tool or same method doesn't exist anymore because it was changed or it just broke along with some updates. That is kind of a lot for a new player. When you're trying to learn things or ask questions or look up forums and things, all the solutions you're getting are outdated and old because everything continuously keeps changing. So yeah, I did find that really frustrating. Now, remember when I said the city was big and the starting area was big? I thought that was big until I got into my ship and I started flying. So I took my first flight out of the bunker after I was doing like 10 barrel rolls in the hangar and I almost crashed before I even got out. So thank God I didn't crash there. But yeah, when I got out and I was actually flying and I started raising myself, I realized that the part of the city I was in was just a fraction of the size of the actual city. This place was massive and I was just in awe, looking down at all these lights, all these vehicles moving, this world that was alive in a game that just looked like it was living and breathing. I got to outer space and I was like, wow, okay, look at this, I'm outer space. Then I turned my camera around to look behind me just to realize the planet that I was thinking was so big was now shrinking into a spherical ball and I had gone so far. That was crazy. How big is this game really? That was the most surprising thing to me. Was every time I thought the game was big, it just got bigger. And it started making sense of why it was taking so long. There was so much that they're building in this game, and it's kind of amazing what they're planning to do with this. When I started trying to do missions and other things, trying to get used to the game, my first mission went smoothly and nothing went wrong. Then I tried to do a similar mission again, and out of nowhere, that similar mission broke. So I had spent around 20 minutes flying somewhere, getting something to go deliver it, and I just couldn't do it because the mission just broke and I was unable to complete the mission. So I had wasted time. Then I started realizing that there were so many bugs. At one point, the game actually froze. When it unfroze, I fell through a moon. I was basically on a moon trying to get some boxes to deliver, and I fell right through the map. And I didn't stop falling. And when I asked in chat, they told me just backspace. I backspaced and I lost all my gear and I had to reclaim my ship, which was kind of annoying. And then when I started learning about cargo boxes and other things and how to use my tractor gun, that's basically a gun that moves things, every time I used it, something would land on top of me and crush me. At one point, I literally landed my ship and it said, landing successful. I got out of my ship and out of nowhere, I was 30 feet in the air and dead. So a lot of things happen where this game is super bugged out. You might be in a gunfight thinking you're doing good, then you get rubber banded and suddenly you have 30 bullets put into you and you're dead. Or sometimes I mesh out of my ship completely and I'm left in orbit while my ship is zooming away and I'm like, what do? I can't survive in space. And at one point, I couldn't even call my ship. I had no ship. I'm a noob. I just started this game. I have no friends. And I couldn't even call my ship, so I couldn't get off the planet to go do anything or find somewhere else to get my ship. And even to the point where the ship I got when I bought my package, it apparently had cargo space, but the cargo space didn't work. So I was left having to go do things and carry things in unorthodox ways just to make it happen and to make things work, like delivery missions and things, or even trying to get gear and get bodies. I have to put them inside my ship where they're not supposed to go, because if I didn't do that, I didn't have the actual storage that I was promised on purchase of my ship. All of these things can be so annoying. You could honestly just not want to play anymore. Like, I'm honest with you, like sometimes I was just like, Steph, just turn this thing off before you get angry. but I stuck it out. So there's a lot of things that get you killed. So you have to be very careful with this game. And this is a game that I feel is a long haul game where you have to actually sink hours to accomplish things. So when you're sinking that many hours into a game and there's that many bugs, that's not great, especially for a 13-year-old game. It's not great and it's very annoying. But I'm someone who looks past things like that and continues playing because I'm actually enjoying the experience. So if you want to play this game, just have that at the back of your mind so it doesn't just dishearten you as soon as you start. And I know after hearing all of that, you're thinking in your head, there we go, we got him scammed. That's a scam. It's a scam, see? But here's where I have to say, it kind of isn't. For some strange reason, I still enjoyed the game. And till this day, I'm still playing. I've sunk roughly around 60 hours so far, and I'm enjoying it. And that's kind of why I'm doing this review, because even though this is the buggiest game I've played, and trust me, I've played Ark, I've played Rust, and this is by far the buggiest game I have ever played. And after the game being in production for 13 years, being this buggy is terrible. It is insane, but it's addictive. It's very addictive. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the immersion. The immersion goes so far, and I feel like we've lost touch with immersion in these new age games we're seeing these days. In the last like 7-8 years, I haven't gone into a game like this where I'm so immersed I forget about my surroundings, where I'm so immersed, and as a gamer who's played so many games, I find myself tilting with my ship. I find myself trying to do barrel rolls in real life, even though I'm using mouse and keyboard. These things don't happen to me as a seasoned game player. I can disconnect my mind from the screen and say, that's the screen, that is me, I don't need to move. You know, it's like when you see your little brother for the first time playing a racing game where they're moving with the controller to drift the car or whatever. I felt like that again. I haven't felt like that in so many years. So getting that feeling again was crazy, and it just felt nice. It brought back joy and memories, you know? And the only game I felt like this about, where I was so invested, was Ark. And Ark is the game I play all the time. It's the game I make content about. I've made hours and hours and hundreds of videos on that game. And this game already, in less than 2 weeks, is already starting to feel like that for me. If you're watching this on my main channel, make sure to go check out my actual Star Citizen channel that I'm starting, because I actually want to document my journey in this game and kind of look at it and keep updated with it all the way until it releases. Maybe when I'm 30, who knows? So what I'm essentially saying is the game is truly one of a kind. It is a mess with bugs, but it's so one of a kind. And from what I'm gathering is this engine they're using, they built it themselves. So it really is unique. You can't call this game a clone of any other game because the engine it's built on and running on, and how intricate the things are and how many things and small details are in it are so intricate, you can tell that this is a unique game. And funnily enough, I don't think any game on the market right now can even compare to the scope of what these people are trying to do here. And when you think about it, like, it's so huge and you're adding more. How can you add more to such a vast space, such a vast universe you've created? And they are adding more. So when you think about the fact that this game is being crowdfunded, hasn't even made as much money as some of these other AAA titles out there that are kind of dying off. It's like, if they had more money, how better could this game get? If they had more money and more support, it's actually crazy. Is it worth $45 to start if you just want to test it out? Yes, I've had over 60 hours. I literally pay more money for games where I complete them in 10-15 hours. So the fact that I'm having so much more money and I'm literally at the tip of the iceberg, guys, I'm literally still doing recovery op missions. That's how far in I am. I'm still doing the bare minimum stuff, and I've had so much fun, and I've already sunk 60 hours. So is that worth $45? Most definitely. It's actually a small price to play for the fun I've had so far. And to couple that up with the actual game itself, the community is super nice. I've released literally one video, and I've actually posted that video on 2 different channels, and it's getting such good reception, and everyone is so helpful, from the actual chat in-game in the world to anyone else outside of this game. It's kind of like a community that doesn't seem as toxic as some of the other ones in there. And I feel like it's because this game is crowdfunded, and a lot of people are coming here for the community and to see something happen in the future. They didn't just come to a finished game. It's a thing where people are growing with the game, which I feel makes a more based community, which aren't going to be as toxic. So I feel like it's a little bit balanced, even with the PvP side of it. I've seen a lot of players saying that people should actually wait for future updates before playing Star Citizen and like starting their journey. Honestly, I can't actually tell you guys how wrong I feel that is. Like, the game so far for me as a beginner is really buggy. Like, it's the buggiest thing ever, but it still feels like a gem. The immersion is great. great and the gameplay lets me play. In the world with all games going towards this AI route and everything is done for you and automated, this was just what I was looking for. And I think a lot of other people are probably looking for the same thing. So yeah, is it a slow burner? Completely. But reaching milestones becomes so much more like rewarding because you actually achieved that, you did something, It's even to the point where I'm already thinking ships are too cheap. I want to grind for months to afford a new ship, but I'm already nearing 1 million credit and I'm not doing it to the optimum level I could. I'm just trying to enjoy the game. And I really love the way the missions are set up because missions actually don't even pay you the best. But what you can do after the mission is where the big money is at. Like most games, you do your mission and then you turn it in and you're done. That's it. Go do another mission or just replay the mission you just did. But in this, it's kind of like a similar concept, but after you've done the mission, there is more depth to it. You get rewarded beyond the mission. You go into a building to provide backup to do one of those missions. Now you can loot gear and sell that for money. And it's not just one special piece of gear. It's a lot of items and heaps from all the bodies you just killed. For instance, I went to a cave and I did a mission there. And I didn't just get the loot from the bodies after the mission. I also saw that there was mineable ores in that cave and I could spend time collecting and selling that. So it really feels rewarding for players who wants to actually play the game and want to see a little bit more depth after they've done the original mission that they started. And honestly, unless you buy the bigger ships that allow you to skip some of the more mundane jobs, things can be earned and it's all true in-game work, not automated success. And that earned feeling so far has been really rewarding for me. This is all coming from me, who was, again, a generational hater. I hated the game for so many different reasons, but finally giving it a chance, it flipped the whole narrative I had in my head around that it's not a scam. Yes, it's buggy. Yes, it's a mess at times. So far, I've gotten into so many messes, but it's so entertaining and engaging that it's still worth it. It's still enough for me to wish for it to have a good future and to want to ride it out now to see where it gets to at the end of this path that CIG is going on. And it's really, really impressive. I'm super, super impressed. So as a hater, I can say that I'm no longer a hater, gang. I'm no longer a hater, gang. I'm playing this game for real. And I actually really, really do enjoy it. So if you want to kind of see my journey and see the way I progressed in this game, make sure to subscribe to this channel, which I'm going to be doing more sci-fi related games on, and mostly Star Citizen because I'm really, really enjoying it right now. But yeah, that's my rough review of Star Citizen in 2024 as a new player, someone who's known about the game but never tried it. And yeah, I'm surprisingly impressed. It's really good. It's really worth the money if you want to spend a small amount, like $45 for the entry pack. And yeah, there's so many things in it. And I just remembered even the fact that after you spend $45, if you like it enough, or if you want to try something different, you can literally refund your money for in-store credit to buy something else. I've already changed ships twice. I went from the Aurora that I got in my first pack to the Mustang Alpha, which is a different ship that I wanted to try out because it had an easier cargo arrangement to use. And I could do this all in game. So it's not like when you buy a game, you've bought it, you've gone past your refund hours on Steam, so you can't refund it. No, you can refund whenever you want and either upgrade to something more by adding a little bit more money or changing for something that's in the same price range, which is really great. So your money's never gone. It's actually never gone. It's just there and you can just do different things with it within the game. What are you thinking now? Because I'm telling you, I'm a very picky person and I really, really enjoy this game, which is really weird for me. So yeah, let me know your opinions below. Don't forget, like, subscribe, join the party. We're going to try to do this thing and let's see if we can become pros at Star Citizen, and I'll see you guys on the next one.